Hey, what's up everyone? It's your boy Altered Tech back again with a new video, and to kick off 2020, I'm going to give you guys a full review of the LG G6. Keep this in mind, people. This is running a Canadian firmware. This is a Sprint variant, and I basically flashed it with Canadian firmware because number one, now this phone is unlocked. I could use it with any GSM model, AT&T or T-Mobile. If you guys are interested in converting a Sprint variant like this to the Canadian firmware, check out xda.com. This is running Android Pie. I do like the new features. I do like the new animations and whatnot. And as for the LG G6 in 2020, you do have two lenses. You do have a wide angle lens, a primary lens, a fingerprint sensor on the back that actually acts as a power button as well. And you do have this beautiful, nice finish. So let's go ahead. In this video, I'll talk about the battery life, the performance, how it works when it comes to multitasking, how it works when it comes to gaming, the camera quality, and the sound, the fingerprint sensor, all that good stuff. So I did use this phone as my main primary phone for about 5 days. And let's go ahead and see that beautiful animation. I just love that. So for Android Pie, this is the LG launcher. So I could have used Nova launcher, but I just wanted to give you guys the overall, the real authentic LG experience. And so far, this is just pretty much flying by. Not too much lag, except maybe when you're opening a ton of applications. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that real quick. So let me go ahead and just clear all the apps. So first things first, let's open up, let's see, we have T-Mobile Tuesdays. So it doesn't really lag too much. I didn't really notice too much lag. There were times when it did take a couple seconds to open up an app, but that's to be expected with such an older processor. So we got Slick Deals. We have, check out the Google Play Store. Now, here's the thing, people. If you're going to buy this for about 80 to 100 bucks, this phone, I mean, when you think about the hardware, everything you're getting, you have the wireless charging, you have the dual camera setup, you have, the quad HD display. Even the speakers on this, the sound, it is pretty damn good. You don't have dual speakers. The sound comes from the bottom. You do have fast charging. And, for all these things, if you guys just need a phone to hold it down for you, for texting, calling, making phone calls, for browsing the internet, when it comes to playing games, you're going to have some issues when it comes to Call of Duty. For heavy intensive games, I wouldn't not recommend it. Now, the only reason why I'm not even, considering keeping this phone long term as my primary device is because, I do love taking photos, and I prefer using the Google Pixel 3a. So aside from that, if you guys told me I had to use this phone as my primary device in 2020, no issues whatsoever, no complaints whatsoever. Still a gorgeous device. So for the battery life, how does the battery life work? That has been a big, major issue when it comes to the LG G6 for many people. As for me, when it comes to the battery life, let's go ahead and see if I have any of these things saved. Okay, so as for the battery life, I do have some screenshots. So for this day, I had this phone on for about almost 2 days. The screen usage was about 4 hours and 56 minutes with 3% remaining. And I remember this was a very intensive day. I did use Google Maps. Yeah, as you guys can see, Google Maps down the bottom. So this is a big improvement because with Sprint, I was usually getting about, let's say, about 3 to 4 hours tops of screen on time. So for this is a giant improvement. And as you guys can see, when I'm not using the phone, there barely isn't any, battery drainage. And this is another day. For this day, I got about 5 hours of screen on time. And most of the time, it was spent on YouTube. For me, when it came to gaming, you're going to see a huge dip in the battery performance. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, for multitasking, let's go ahead and have all these apps open. Let's go ahead and open up T-Mobile Tuesday. Bam. Burger King. Bam. And I would definitely recommend this over the Samsung A10e, pretty much because you're getting a better display, quad HD display. I mean, all these, low budget phones are cute, but, if you guys are considerate of the planet, there's nothing wrong with some of these older techs. Just make sure you go ahead and you buy a good model in good condition, and see if you could flash it to the Canadian firmware. And as for the gaming, like I said in my other videos, the gaming, it is pretty damn laggy. It's playable, but it's going to be pretty tough to score some points in Call of Duty especially. You're going to notice some lag. It's just some jittery every once in a while. So when it comes to loading up the device, downloading resources, the Wi-Fi connection on this, it is pretty good Wi-Fi hardware. No issues whatsoever. For the bare essentials, for someone who is on the grind, for someone who doesn't really have much money to spend, this is a hidden gem. So this is taking a couple seconds to load up. Now this is not a OnePlus 7 Pro, a OnePlus 7T. So, the sharpness on this display, it is pretty impressive. And unfortunately, the sound is only on the bottom firing speakers. So the sound is pretty good. It has nice bass and whatnot. Let's go ahead and put that volume up. It gets pretty loud as well. A little bit too loud. Let me just bring it down a little bit. Okay, as you guys can see, it is a little bit jittery when you're just, turning left and right, and that makes it very hard, especially when this is a fast-paced game, and it's just, too laggy for me. So unfortunately, when it comes to gaming, you guys can see that lag right there. I cannot give this a win. So let's go ahead and check out the other apps. Let's check out that RAM management. It is pretty fluid. Usually when I had the LG G6 with the Sprint firmware, man, this when it came to opening the task manager and just flipping through, there used to be some lag between this, and now as you guys can see, it's just super smooth. So kudos to LG on that. Maybe it was the Android Pie update. As for the camera, basically in low light situations, I recommend using the Gcam. So with the Gcam, check out this photo. It looks pretty damn good. Without Gcam, it's going to come out like this, pretty dark. LG does have a dedicated night mode, but it just isn't as good as the competition. So for night shots, definitely go ahead and check out the Gcam for this device. I'll post a link in the description. If you guys want me to make a video on that, I can make a video on that as well. As for the camera app itself, there's so many features. I love this about LG when it comes to the camera. A ton of features. So if you guys want the wide angle lens, go ahead and tap on that tree. You got the wide angle mode. The primary camera does have better quality than the wide angle lens. And as for the modes, you have food mode, pop-out mode, 360 panorama, manual camera, guide shot, time lapse, manual video, slow motion, grid shot. Unfortunately, Samsung took off manual video on their devices for whatever reason. But there's some cats like Gadget. I forgot his name, Gadget Now, and he's a big fan of LG, and he does some really great videos when it comes to the camera performances and whatnot. Just look at all these settings you have when it comes to making some really nice videos. You have the audio bar over here, not exactly sure what that's called, full HD 30, 17 megabits per second, white balance, manual focus, autofocus, ISO, all these cool things. Let's go ahead and switch this. So for the video quality, you can record up to Ultra HD or 4K, but I believe this is going to give you the option of only shooting at 30 frames per second. You could shoot at 60 frames per second with full HD. So just keep that in mind. You can even control the bitrate, hi-fi, audio. You have all these cool things, tracking focus, all these cool things. And this does have a micro SD card slot, so if you guys want to increase the memory, you can actually do that as well. And for right now, I have my storage, I'll switch it to the internal storage. So just keep that in mind. So basically all you gotta do is go to your local Best Buy or maybe go on Amazon and order some SD cards for your LG G6 to just double up or even triple or quadruple. So something else that's very important with this device is the sound. How is the sound quality? Believe it or not, people, I prefer the sound quality on my LG G6 over my Pixel 3a when it comes to making phone calls. Phone calls sounds crystal clear on this device. I'm not exactly if it's because of the Canadian firmware, but when it comes to echoing and all those other issues I've had with my carrier, this phone sounds completely awesome. And it makes me wonder, I mean, I have yet to really try the LG G8. I gave it away to my sister because she wanted it. So unfortunately, I missed out on that opportunity. But I mean, if this LG G6 is as good as it is right now, I can't imagine how the LG G8 actually performs. The only downside is that you're going to have to rely on yourself when it comes to software updates. For example, for me, it did take quite a maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours to get this actually running right with the Canadian firmware. It did take some tricks and some hoops and some learning to figure out how to get this done. Okay, as for the fingerprint setup, it does work pretty good. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that for you guys real quick. That was pretty easy. Let's go ahead and see how it works. 1, 2, 3. Bam. Pretty good. Tap on it. Let's see. Tap on it. Unlocked. Working pretty good. No issues whatsoever. And these physical fingerprint sensors are actually more accurate than the fingerprint sensors built inside the display. I mean, you have so many features. You have Bluetooth, NFC, the micro SD card slot, hotspot, battery saver mode, quick capture if you want to take some notes, comfort view so you could get rid of that blue light, do not disturb, data saver, pretty much all the things you would expect on a standard device in 2020. So overall, people, think about this device. If you guys could get a Sprint variant and install the Canadian firmware, highly recommend it. I do not know how it's going to perform when it comes to maybe a Sprint variant, a Verizon phone, even a T-Mobile variant, because those are pretty much way backed up when it comes to software updates. So just go ahead and think about that if you want to pick up this device at a great price. Anyways, people, this is Alter Tech signing out. Hope you guys have a great and wonderful day. Peace.